What's up everybody? In this video we're going to be doing a little fish room tour of my scaping and breeding rack that I have here in my little fish room. So to start off this video we're going to start with the first tank that I had on the channel, which is my 30 centimeter cube tank. So this is my 30 centimeter cube tank. It's turned out to be a really nice little tank. It's not made with optic white glass, so it does have a little bit of that green tinge to it. But overall, for a little all-in-one cheap tank, I'm really happy with it. So to start off with, when I planted it pretty densely, so we had a pretty clean run. It had CO2 when I started. I've currently taken the CO2 off and I've put it into the Iwagumi that's next to it. I'll probably be adding the CO2 back in soon. But I've got some crystal red shrimp in there. I want to see if I can get them to breed. And I don't know if the CO2 has given them some problems with the fluctuating pH from the CO2. So I'm just going to leave it off for a little while to see how it goes. But soon it'll be back on there and getting the plants growing. So as you can see, the Liliopsis has really taken off. I gave it a pretty heavy trim last week because I had to take some of the plants to sell. And the Rotella Blood Red in the back was really massive, and same as the Rotella Green. Things that I've added, I think I added the AR Mini in the back right corner there. I got some of that immersed growth grown from my local hardware store, so it was nice to just add that in. So yeah, the Liliopsis is really big and really tall. It's looking great. I've got some guppies in there, and I've got a small group of ruby tetras. The guppies are albino red Moscows, and they look really awesome, and they've got some babies which I have to put in. Currently they're in a small separate little breeder box because the big female is very aggressive and she eats all the babies and attacks them, so I have to sort of keep a close eye on it if I want any babies. The crystal red shrimp are doing pretty good. I got a group of 10. I think I lost a couple at the start, which you can expect because they're a pretty sensitive shrimp. But overall, the ones that remain are doing pretty good. I just haven't been able to get them to breed, and I believe that's probably because there's fluctuating pH because of the CO2. So as I said, with the CO2 being off, I want to see if I can get them to breed. But yeah, overall, this has been a really clean, really simple, not much algae tank. When it started off, I had a bit of staghorn, which was growing on the Liliopsis. But that quickly disappeared, and now all I kind of get is a little bit of green dust on the glass, but nothing too excessive. The red root floaters on top definitely help, and then I've got an immersed growing plant coming out the back of the filter, which helps. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this tank, and I think it looks good. I'll probably be pulling it down soonish if I can't get the shrimp to breed. I want to try something different, and I kind of threw this one together really quick. So yeah, it'll be interesting to try a new one. So on the rack next to the 30 centimeter cube, I have another 30 centimeter cube. This one is a Dutch style, which I started maybe 3 weeks to a month ago. And it's taken a little while to get on its feet. There was a lot of trimming, a lot of the plants I ordered online. By the time they arrived, and I got them in the tank because they arrived on like a Monday, I think I planted it on a Thursday, they've degraded a significant amount. And then it took me a while to get other plants to add in, but overall it's pretty good. In this tank we've got a nice little school of green neon rasboras, which I got last week, and I really like them. They're a really active fish. I was a little bit worried that they might be a bit skittish and want to hide, but they're awesome. They swim around a lot and they're sort of really cool to watch swim. So I think I'm actually going to move them out of this tank and into the Iwagumi that I made this week. But I just need them in here to get acclimated, and the Iwagumi is still cycling and running in, so it's nice to have some fish in this tank. This tank has CO2, which you can see. It's going what I think, or what looks like, and with the bubble counter seems like a decent amount, but my drop checker is showing up blue, so I'm not sure if the liquid has, is a bit old or something, because I would think it would start to show a little bit of green. I mean, the CO2 has been on for at least 5 or 6 hours today. So I'm not sure. I don't want to go too heavy with the CO2 because I just put the fish in this week. But yeah, it's with the regulator that I've got a 3-way adapter for the 3 tanks that are on, or 4 tanks that are on here. And I've been using that, and sometimes it's hard to dial it in, so I lean towards the side of slightly lower CO2 than higher, because if it fluctuates, then I don't want to go too high and being bad for the fish. But we have a really nice group of plants in here. We've got some Staurogen repens at the front. We've got some Bacopa salzmani purple on the front left and right, which I got yesterday and I just added in. I got some Hygrophila lancia araguaia, some Rotala macrandra type 4 or type 2, I can't exactly remember, I'll put it on the screen. I've got some Hygrophila polysperma pink poly, some Ludwigia ovalis pink, some Ludwigia repens red Rubens. We've got Rotala colorata, Ludwigia atlantis, and Ludwigia inclinata tornado at the back, which was also recently added. Now I did make a bit of a video for this one. I'm not sure if it will get uploaded because I didn't really like the quality of the video that was made. I filled up with water, I left a bunch of splashes on the front glass. I didn't think it was a great video, and it's only a Dutch, so it was sort of just lots of planting and not much building hardscape or doing anything. So I'm not sure if that's going to go up, but I'll probably do some more updates in the future to update this tank. But yeah, we've got just a basic hang on the back filter on the back, and then I use UNS Contra Soil for all my tanks because it's just what's available to me and that I can buy. But yeah, overall I really like this tank. One of the main reasons I wanted a Dutch style was so that I had plants to take to the local shop and trade in and get store credit so I could buy other things, and it's done pretty good so far, and I'm really excited for it to really start to thrive and grow in really thick, and I can take lots of cuttings in. So up next we have my Iwagumi, which I made. Now I made this Iwagumi this week, so it's just been starting up running for 2-3 days, and I added some new plants yesterday because I managed to get some. So we've got a multicolored carpet up the front. I'm going to put some S repens in some of the shadier spots once it's ready to come out of the Dutch. I've got some Aerocalon breviscapum or breviscapum, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but I'll put it on the screen, in the back corners, as well as some Aerocalus vivipara. I originally only wanted vivipara, but being in Western Australia, it's difficult to get plants, so I can't just go to the shop or look online and say, what do I want, and have a pick. We've sort of got limited options of shops, and you can't get plants imported in without a license or them going through a check and all this sort of stuff for biosecurity reasons. So you sort of only get what you can get. And I messaged a few people, private sellers, about the vivipara. No one had any, and then a few days after I bought the Aerocalon and got it all planted, someone got back to me and said, hey, I managed to get some vivipara, do you want some? So we got the vivipara in there up the back. And then we've also just got some Blixa japonica hanging out behind that furthest back rock. So I'm hoping that'll get nice and bushy there and fill up. And then we've got a little boost, which is Bucephalandra Brownie Mini Phantom, which is just between the main stone and the slightly smaller supporting stone in front of it. I'm not sure if it's going to stay there. I'm putting it in there, seeing how it goes. It's a very small leaf boost, so I don't mind having it in there if it remains really small, but if it starts to get too big, I might take it out. But whenever I go to buy plants, if they've got a boost that I don't have, I always like to buy it because I like having cool and interesting different plants. This tank has got the CO2 from the cube next to it. I have another cheap regulator and also a setup to run CO2 on this one independently. But for the moment, it's just quicker and easier to pull it across from the other one, and then I'll probably set that up in the next few weeks and see how it goes. Yeah, I've got a bag of the Seachem Matrix from another tank just sitting on top of the rock there. So it looks a bit ugly at the moment, but there is a full build video coming from this tank, so you'll be able to see it in all its proper glory without that on there, but that's just helping to cycle it a bit faster. And for the filter, I'm using a Oase Filto Smart 60, which I'll make a video on because it's an interesting little filter, and I have some thoughts about it because it's a very weird pipe sizes, and just makes it a little bit more difficult and not as simple as you might think. But that came with the tank because I bought it secondhand. It came with a light and the filter and a heater, but I just used the filter, and the rack already has a light. Speaking of the light on this rack is the Corydoras WRGB 120. This is a 1.5 meter rack, or 5 foot, and then it's a 4 foot light or 120 centimeter light, so it just has a little bit of fall off on the edges. And I sort of wanted this because I didn't want to have, you know, a cord and a power board for every single tank, so I just put this one on and it works. The obvious thing is, if one tank needs more light and another tank doesn't need as much light, I can't run them independently. But for the moment, it's in a pretty good middle ground. All these tanks are about 30 centimeters and it seems to work pretty well. It's nice light, you know, works on the app. I have a bunch of Corydoras lights and I'm a pretty big fan of them. All right, so up next we have my, in air quotes, failed Aquascape. I made a video about this a little while ago, and it was a bit of a rough start to Escape. But as time's gone on, it's just continued being pretty good. I have just basic little bit of algae on the glass, nothing too major, and then a little bit of like a cladophora type algae which comes up every now and again, but that's pretty easy to just get out with like a toothbrush. It's become a bit of a holding tank, and I put a lot of different cuttings and stuff in here, and I have the very chaotic school of tiger Endlers, which are always moving about and having babies and going crazy, so there's always something going on in this tank. I am thinking about taking this one down and moving it off the rack because I have a little bit of space outside of the rack now, and I was thinking about putting it out here and then just leaving the rack for tanks that are 30 centimeters high, because it's just a little bit difficult to get in there and work because it's so close to the top of the rack. This one currently has an Eheim Classic 350 on it, which I'm just leaving running for when I set up my big 60 by 45 by 45 tank, because that's where that filter originally came from. So it's nice to have the filter ready to go for when I finally plant out that tank and do that tank. But yeah, overall it's growing in pretty good and nothing too major to report. The light is a Corydoras A series or A2 series, and yeah, it's going great. Got a bit of immersed plant growth out of it, and overall I cannot complain about the tank. It's going pretty good. All right, and onto the final tank that is on the rack, and this is the ugly tank. It just has a very small, tiny little light, which originally came with the 30 centimeter all-in-one cube that I have. It's not very powerful, and I just have it on here just to light things up a little bit. This tank is pretty much a breeding tank at the moment. As you can see, there are some Corys which are being very frivolous, and they've been eating a bunch of blackworms, and they are currently laying eggs as we speak. So there's some eggs on the glass which I gotta catch out, and then in the actual little hang-on breeder, I've got one on the front and one on the back. The one on the back has got a bunch of hatched out Cory babies, and then the one in the front here has a bunch of eggs on the glass. It also has a bunch of CPD fries. The main fish for this tank are CPDs. I've been breeding CPDs in here for a while, but I got the Corys for my 4-foot tank a couple of months ago, and I've had them in here trying to breed them, so I have extras for the 4-foot tank, and I'm starting to have a lot of success. I've got maybe 50 eggs in the front one. I got about 20 fry in the back one, and so I should have a good group to put into my 4-foot tank, and then I'm going to have a bunch left over which I'll be able to sell to my local shop or trade in for store credit, which is awesome. I've got some gravel in there, and then when I put the Corys in, I just dumped a bunch of sand in there, and I've also got the Blake's Aquatics auto egg catcher or egg harvester, which is awesome. It really helps with the CPDs. When I get them breeding and going really good, it's been great to just, you know, not have to reach in there, try to find the eggs before they eat them, all that sort of stuff. So it's a good little thing. I've made a couple myself in the past, but haven't had the most success with them. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this tank. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it running, because I'm finding I get more store credit and better bang for buck growing plants. And then also, if I make this bottom rack here more about scaping and just maybe some low-tech cubes or something, I can make more YouTube videos. So I'm unsure as to how long I'm going to keep this breeding tank running, but I know that maybe tonight or tomorrow I'm going to put some Corys into the big tank because they've given me enough eggs and probably excess. So once they're out, I'll be able to put the Cory fry into here, grow them up. Maybe towards the end of the year, I'll be able to sell them. But yeah, if you look at some of those Corys at the front there is breeding action going on for sure. And you know, if you look right here, you can see a Cory egg on the glass there. And then I'll put you up here and focus in on the breeder box. And maybe if we zoom in, you'll just be able to see all those eggs on the front there. And then there's a bunch more in the detritus. And then yeah, we got a bunch of CPD fry just cruising around in there. And I've had pretty reasonable success breeding the CPDs. I was originally gonna try and, you know, take them into the local shop for store credit, but I'm unsure now because just breeding fish takes a lot of time. You kind of need a lot more tank space, and I feel like I'm better set up to just, you know, get extra CO2, run a bunch of tanks and just grow lots of different plants. And look, I might get a shed in the backyard. If I get a big shed in the backyard, then I might do more actual fish breeding or just try it out. Like I might try to breed more of the neon green rasboras before they go into the Iwagumi. But for the moment, yeah, got this Corys breeding. They're the false Julie eyes, the 3-line or the, I forget what they're called exactly, the trilineatus or whatever they are. So I'll put the name up on screen, but I've had pretty good success breeding them. Just been lots of black worms, get them really fat and plump, you know, do a cold water change, about 20 to 50%, and then they're sort of off to the races and they just breed. But black worms is definitely the key. I just drop in a bunch of black worms 3 times a day. They eat them all up. They're all up in the substrate. They love digging around for them. I think these guys down here are all having a really good little time. Trying to get them to focus in on it. They're just doing their thing down there, trying to breed and dropping eggs right as we speak, I think. So after this video, I'll be collecting up the eggs, and then I think I'm pretty much done with the breeding of these Corys. And here we are with the final tank in the house. I'm currently working on a nice big build video for this one, so make sure to stay tuned because it's pretty cool. I really am pretty happy with this tank. So I won't do too much B-roll of this one. I'll leave you in suspense for when the actual video comes out. But this is my 4 foot by nearly 2 foot, so it's 120 centimeters by 55 by 55. So it's about 350 liters, 90 something gallons, so it's a decent sized tank. I have an Oase Biomaster 850 thermo on this, and I have the Chihiros WRGB Slim in 90 centimeters on top. It's a really cool tank. I've got some, as you can probably see, the prominent tiger lotus in the middle there. I've got a green lotus at the back. I've got lots of different plants. I've got these beautiful big pieces of Mekong bogwood, which are really nice. I really like the shape and the flow that they have. And it's all filled with black basalt. So this tank is really good. I'm very happy with how it's going. I put some of the Vivipara in the back there. I've got some Cypress Hellfairy. I've got Cryptolance. There's a bunch of Aponegitans in the back. There's some swords, all sorts of stuff. So when it really starts to grow and become really prominent, I'm very excited for this one. I gave this one a dark start, and I set it up and dark started for about 2 and a bit months because I was going away and doing some other stuff, and it's been sort of planted and growing in for about 2.5, maybe 3 months now. So it's starting to get into a good spot. I've just been running into a few issues with some green dust algae. So it's the slimy green dust algae. I've been trying to, you know, get rid of it. I'm considering doing a blackout for 4 or 5 days. I did a really big clean. I manually removed a bunch this today. So it's looking nice and clean now, but I'm gonna see how long it takes for it to come back in and take over. And if it's very aggressive, very annoying, then I'm gonna do a big clean up, then a blackout. I'm hoping for the tiger lotuses and the lotus at the back, the green lotus especially, to hit the water's surface. So I don't want to trim them too much, even though they're becoming really big and prominent in the middle there. But yeah, I'm really liking this tank. So far we've got some checkered rainbows in here. And then we've got a small group of bleeding blue bleeding blue tetras. So I'm gonna add some Bosmani rainbows. I'm just waiting for some nice ones to come up in the shop. I'm gonna put the Corys from the breeding tank into here. So we're gonna have a bunch of Corys in here. And then I'm gonna get a tetra. Now I'm not sure whether I wanna get like 30 or 40 rummy nose or like a nice schooling tetra, or whether I wanna keep it a little bit bigger and go for like a diamond tetra or an emperor tetra. So I'm not 100% sure yet. I really would like the schooling fish. I think it looks really cool when they school and they move together. But at the same time, I'm really liking the look of diamond tetras lately. And I think, you know, having a decent group of those will be nice and just gives a bit more fish all around it. I'm also thinking about the Praecox rainbows as well, but not 100% sure. So yep, this tank has CO2, but it's running inline. I like inline for the bigger tanks. It's just easier to disperse it and get it around the whole thing. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with this tank so far, and I just can't wait for it to really start to grow in. So yeah, that's it for the scape tour, or the fish room, or whatever tank tour. I've got, you know, some more tanks coming up. I've got a desk tank, which is sort of like a shallow semi-terrarium style tank, which I'm going to do like a little desk tank with some immersed growth. I've got my 60 by 45 by 45 big sort of 2-foot tank, which is going to go in the living room here. So definitely got some more tanks coming up. And then, as I said, probably pulling down that breeding tank and then the other one that's next to it, and, you know, putting some more cubes and stuff in that bottom or that middle section of the rack. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you stick around and you know, stay and come see some of the new builds that are coming up. I'm really hoping to be nice and consistent, keep making tanks, keep making videos, and I'm probably gonna do a few more updates as time goes on. So I got some, you know, more to show for the tanks, because it's nice to have build the tank, then, you know, show it off after a month or two, but it's nice to keep showing the progress and how they go over time. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.